In the Garden of Eden, God's intent for man was to give him a kingdom. In Genesis 1:27 and 28, God says to Adam, I give you dominion. The very word dominion talks about kingdom. And he says to Adam, I give you dominion over everything I've created. And I want you to go and multiply, replenish, fill the earth, and subdue anything that stands against my kingdom from advancing. And so that was Adam's original mandate. Unfortunately, he gets deceived by the devil or Satan into handing over the reins of the very kingdom that he was appointed to deputize on God's behalf. And ever since, man has been making this futile attempt to regain the kingdom, either through religion or through power or through rituals. What man wants back is kingdom. And yet what he gave away cannot be retained or obtained back through human means. One of the reasons Jesus came to the earth was to re-establish the kingdom that he had first given Adam. In fact, if there was any topic that Jesus spoke about while he was on earth, it was about the kingdom. In John 3, he talks about how a man cannot enter the kingdom of God unless he is born again. So let's define this thing called the kingdom, because it sounds vague when you just say kingdom, because we're not used to kingdoms because we live in societies that are democratic or talk about equal rights. To begin with, a kingdom has a king. A kingdom has boundaries. A kingdom has citizens. A kingdom has a culture. A kingdom has a code of ethics. A kingdom has an army. A kingdom has ambassadors. A kingdom has resources. And every kingdom has rival kingdoms that are trying to push them back. And at the end of the day, the kingdom is the rule or reign of a king, which is why the Bible often refers to Jesus as the King of Kings or a king who has returned. Everything that was created by Jesus, through Jesus, for Jesus. There is nothing that exists on the earth that Jesus Christ did not create. Everything is consisted in him, contained by him, it's sustained by his words. And he gave it to man, and then he comes back in the form of a man to take back that which man gave away. The conflict here on earth is not between God and the devil, really. It's between man and the devil. Therefore, Jesus had to come down as a man to get back from Satan what he had taken away. In fact, one of the things that Satan promises to Jesus when he tempts Jesus in the desert in Luke chapter 4 is, Jesus, you bow to me and I'll give you the kingdoms of the earth. That was what was offered by the devil to Jesus during the temptations in Luke chapter 4. And so, what Jesus came to inaugurate here on earth is the rule and reign of God once again. Just imagine this. There is nothing as prophetic or as future as the kingdom breaking into the present world. Jesus came and said, now that I, the King, have come, know this, that my rule and reign has once again recommenced here on earth. And so when you become a Christian, or when you receive Jesus Christ into your life, what you're really doing is saying that I am now renouncing my citizenship in the world and declaring myself as a citizen of the kingdom of God. And the only way you can enter into this kingdom is by receiving the King. So anytime one receives Jesus Christ as Lord of their lives, they become a citizen of the kingdom of God, which is the only thing that will last forever. It has been from the beginning, it will be beyond the end. It is from everlasting to everlasting. Jesus talked about this again and again and again. In Matthew 13, he spoke parable upon parable about the kingdom. In fact, it says that the kingdom is so valuable that a man should sell everything he has to find his way into the kingdom. Jesus said that unless you become like a child and trust me, I will not be able to have you enter into the kingdom. And so the intent is that we allow the rule and the reign of God into our marriages, into our lives, into our work, into our community, into our culture, So when you look at how a kingdom should be, let's look at Jesus' kingdom. Jesus is king. His kingdom at present has boundaries, but it's ever advancing. Every time someone gets healed, it is something from the future breaking into the present. Just think of this. A person has a sick body. You normally go to the doctor or to a hospital. Instead, Jesus said, lay hands on the sick and the sick shall be healed. You go lay hands as a believer on somebody and they get healed. What do you think is happening? A principle or a value of the kingdom called health supernaturally affects someone's body, and they now get to participate in the health that the kingdom is willing to give, as in the rule and the reign of Christ is willing to give. Jesus is king. There are other rival kingdoms. There's the satanic kingdom. There are world systems that oppose what Jesus spoke of. The resources of God's kingdom are unlimited because God is the creator of everything. There are ambassadors in this kingdom of God. You and I, we are the ones who go out and proclaim and tell others that, hey, there is this thing called the rule and reign of Jesus Christ that is present here on earth. Would you like to see what it is like? Look at my life and you will see it, because this is what Jesus did for me in my marriage. This is what Jesus did for me in my body. This is what Jesus did for my kids. This is what Jesus is doing for me at work. And so you begin to demonstrate to the watching world how your life has been affected by King Jesus coming into your life, coming into your family, coming into your community. And now the world begins to hunger after this reality, which was lost in the Garden of Eden and that they've always been looking for. And you have the marvelous privilege of being an ambassador who can demonstrate the goodness of a benevolent king called Jesus. And a day is coming when Jesus will return physically. He's not returning for real estate. He's not returning for resources. He's returning for his citizens or subjects who believed in him, who bowed their knee to him while they were still alive. He's coming for them. This is why it says in Philippians chapter 2 that a day is coming when the world, whether it likes it or not, whether it believes it or not, will recognize Jesus Christ as the only true living God and King. And every knee shall bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ alone is Master, King and Lord. That day is coming. It's unavoidable. Just because I don't believe in gravity doesn't make gravity go away. It still exists. In the same way, just because I do not believe in life hereafter or the reality of this God who calls himself King Jesus doesn't make either life after or King Jesus disappear. They're as real as gravity. And God is saying, now, here I stand, inviting you into my kingdom or into my rule and reign. Will you open the door and walk into it?